I think that what I have provided is a planetary perspective. You know, I started looking at other planets. As part of my PhD research, I was trying to understand why the planet Venus is so hot. And actually had an experiment accepted to go to the planet Venus to study the clouds of Venus, and another experiment to go to Jupiter to study again the atmosphere of Jupiter. So I have this planetary perspective, and the fact that the conditions on a planet depend very much on the composition of the atmosphere. And also, I have included not just modeling. The most common approach for trying to understand the Earth's climate is to build a climate model. And of course, I did that along with my colleagues at the Goddard Institute for Space Studies. But in addition, we have relied heavily on looking at the history of the Earth, because there have been large changes in the composition of the Earth's atmosphere over time. And I think from the combination of the modeling and the history of the Earth, the paleoclimate, and looking at the Earth as an example of a planet in the framework of larger changes that occur from one planet to another, I think this larger perspective has helped to provide some understanding of what the changes of the human-made changes of the Earth's atmosphere, what the impacts of that will be. The relevance to humanity is the question of what we're leaving for young people and future generations, because the interesting thing about the changes that humans are causing to the composition of the atmosphere is that you don't immediately get a response, because the ocean has tremendous inertia. It's 4 kilometers deep on the average, and the ice sheets are 3 kilometers thick. So they do not respond quickly. So the current generation is causing changes that will occur over future generations. And we need to understand that now, because we won't be able to reverse changes if they are too large. So we need to understand that now before those impacts occur. Yeah, it is of concern that some people question the value of science today, and whether, but obviously humanity has gained enormously from the advances that science has brought in reducing human health effects and improving the environment, understanding the effects that humans have on the atmosphere and the water supplies. So we have to make clear the basis of our understanding, but we can't go backward and deny the reality of scientific knowledge. That is, of course, you're always facing questions like that, but you simply have to address it with the best, most logical, rational descriptions of the science. And I think that most countries have national academies of science, for example, which can help to make this story clearer to the public. Well, in my case, I was very fortunate. I did not get involved in science until I went to the university. I was in school, in grade school and high school, mathematics and physics were the things that were most easiest for me. And when I went to the university, I was very fortunate to take courses at the physics department at the University of Iowa, and which was headed by the great scientist James Van Allen, and was introduced to planetary science by him, and that was my great good fortune. So we need good teachers like that, and if we're going to attract young people to scientific careers, we need to both make clear the values of that for humanity, but also the fact that it is interesting to understand how the world works. The big uncertainty in climate science now is how some of the slower parts of the climate system will respond, because the humans have put a forcing on the system which is outside the range of natural changes, outside the range, the speed at which we are changing the composition of the atmosphere. And we are still very uncertain as to how the ice sheets will respond to that, because the biggest practical impact of climate change is potentially on sea level, and that depends on ice sheets. So we need to understand that better, and that I think is an urgent issue that needs to be addressed by the scientific community.